What is going on, everyone? Parsnip here, and today we are going to be doing the TCF Relation of 3 contest. Now, this is actually a contest that is by Relogic themselves, and of course, I'll be leaving a link for the contest in the description below, so make sure you guys go ahead and check that out if you want to participate, or perhaps you just want to see some of the entries. Now, the whole idea between this contest is to have something related with three themes, 3 bosses, 3 something of Terraria, and go ahead and put it on a certain work. This could be either some sort of screenshot, videos, a poem, a story, something along those lines, even outdoor creations, like if you want to make a cake, maybe a little hut that's inspired by Terraria outside. These will all be part of the contest. Now, the contest itself will be in 3 different categories. One will be exactly for what I said, for screenshots and game creations. The other one I think is for stories and poems. And then the last one is pretty much for the more creative bunch, which is going to go ahead and make cakes, cookies, some real life plushies and stuff like that. Now, of course, with me being who I am and enjoying building as much as I do, I did decide to go ahead and make 3 builds. Now, before I go ahead and begin, let me just go ahead and clarify that this ended up being such a long recording session that not only am I releasing this video a little bit late, it's actually being released on Saturday instead of Friday. However, it's also going to be in 2 parts because it has actually passed the 5-hour threshold. Now, the reason why I'm dividing this in 2 parts is because, for one, it's really long and I didn't want to go ahead and make a 20-minute videos or longer video, but I did want to go ahead and release this video on Friday because I still do have to actually finish adding some details and all of that, especially since it's a contest. I want to add as much details and finish it up as best as I can. So my whole idea with the 3 themes is going to go ahead and be the 3 main biomes, and by main biomes it's not really the biomes itself. However, I did want to go ahead and add pretty much the most notable places for me, and those 3 will be the starting area, the forest, which is normally the place that you spawn in, that everybody builds their houses in and whatnot. Next up, it's going to be the corruption, because of course one of the big things about Terraria is the corruption, the spread of corruption and all of that. And lastly, I would like to have something, and this was actually pretty hard. I was deciding whether I wanted to go ahead and make hell one of the places, or if I wanted to make the hollow. However, I did decide that the hollow would fit better because I do think that I definitely spend more time in the hollow after I enter hard mode than in hell. After the wall of flesh in hell, I don't really go back to it much, so I decided to go ahead and just stick with that. So what we're going to start off with is the forest biome. Go ahead and towards the right, later on make our way towards the corruption biome, and that's pretty much all you're gonna see on this video. On the last video, you're gonna go ahead and see me finish the corruption biome, do the entire hollow biome, and add a lot of detail. So that's pretty much it for the theme. Now, what I did do in the forest theme is, of course, make a main base. I figured that just making the biome or decorating the biome itself, you know, terraforming and whatnot, would not be enough. So I did decide that on each and every one of these, it's gonna have a different build. For example, which you will see in a bit, the corruption will have a tower. The hollow one, I'm gonna leave it a surprise for the next video, but make sure you guys stay tuned because, honestly speaking, I did prefer the hollow, especially the terraforming part of the hollow that I already started working on, a lot more than the corruption. So what I did do on the main forest base is go ahead and make a house. I started off by making pretty much that main little room that we all have, which is the crafting station. I went up above, made a little room for an NPC, as well as a place to go ahead and keep my chests and whatnot. I decided that I did want a pretty slanted roof because, well, no real reason. I just wanted a little bit more space. I did consider making the roof a little bit smaller, but I figured, hey, if I could make a little attic and just shove a little bit more stuff, you know, it would be pretty cool. And the attic itself is also gonna just look like it's not really used much. That's why I did go ahead and put cobwebs. As for the last detail of the house itself, I went ahead up top and made a chimney with some stone, gray bricks actually, and some clouds, but I used an actuators to make the cloud look a little bit more gray, you know, like that dirty smoke you would see coming out from a chimney. The chimney itself doesn't actually have a furnace, or not a furnace, but a fireplace, but it is directly on top of the furnace, which I figured works pretty well nonetheless. Next up, I go ahead and start making the terraforming. I figured that normal caves and things like that don't look as detailed as they could be, and I really do like messing around with this. In fact, I actually learned about this type of build style, the mix and match of multiple types of blocks, from the Terraria builder. He, however, doesn't really post videos anymore, but of course that's who I learned all of this from, or at least adding multiple types of walls towards the background on a single place. So as for the caves, there's not much to say. On the left side, I go ahead and make a little waterfall. Something that I did notice on this, if I'm not mistaken, there was 2 blood moons and a third one. However, the third one, I was already like fed up with blood moons that I decided to just wait it off. So you probably won't see the third blood moon, but you will see the first and second one. And that really bugged me because I can't really tell, like the color schemes and all of that gets in the way of the blood moon. And though when I speed the video up, please note that I speed it up quite a bit. You can imagine that watching, this is probably like what, almost 3 hours of videos in less than, or about 10 minutes, right? It's pretty sped up, so you won't really tell how long and how annoying the blood moon is. However, when the blood moon or a solar eclipse, for example, once one of those happens, it does get in the way of my building because it does change the color, like the tones, the hui, and all of that. Next up, I go ahead and pretty much just start adding the finishing touches towards the fire or the forest biome, and that I did with the trees. Now the trees themselves, I did not actually just use an acorn and spawn in a tree. I used some living wood with the living wand and the living leaf wand. And what I did do here is I did not actually use the actuator. Now my first thought was these trees are gonna get in the way. However, as soon as I attempt the actuator, it looks a little bit too dark for my liking, and I decided to just leave it like this. It's a little bit in the way, sadly, yes, but it's nothing that's gonna like completely ruin the build. You know, you can still easily get over this with wings, with a grappling hook, with a mount and whatnot. Next up, I go ahead and start working on the corruption biome. Now the corruption biome, I did want to make some sort of dark, spooky tower, and that's exactly what I did. The main thing that I really liked about this tower is the roof. I just went ahead and was messing around like you can see here, and I ended up liking something and stuck with it. Now this little 2 triangles that's near the top is gonna be modified a little bit. They're gonna have like spikes coming out, and I really thought that fit the corruption theme really well. And overall, I did like how every single one of these builds look so far. Again, only on part 2 of this pretty much speed build is when you guys will actually see the details and stuff like that. And the details, I think, is what's going to complete the builds. Now the forest biome is pretty detailed. There's not going to be much more added to it, but there is going to be something, and here's a little spoiler for you guys, something floating towards the top of the forest biome that I figured maybe I should add this, and I ended up really liking it. But yeah, so I did use the dynasty the dynasty blue shingles, right? And worry not, I know that the dynasty shingles does not have walls. However, I used copper and I painted it purple because corruption being purple, I figured that some nice purple bright standing out roof, something along those lines, would fit really well. And I was really happy with this roof, and that's exactly how I wanted it. As for the rest of the build, it's gonna start taking shape pretty much now while I talk. However, one of the things that I really do like about all 3 biomes is the terraforming. I think the terraforming itself is what's gonna pretty much unify the entire build. And by unifying the build, not unifying, but unifying that particular build. For example, corruption is gonna stand out pretty differently from the forest, and exactly with hallow. You know, hallow is not going to match the forest team, and there's going to be that little division that you will be able to tell, especially once I terraform and have like those purple stones and whatnot. So next up, I go ahead and add some lead fencing, because lead fencing of course looks pretty spooky, pretty creepy, as well as lead fencing for windows. Now the entrance towards this tower, I wanted it to be really safe and solid, so I decided to use player sensors. Player sensors is pretty much going to keep all the mobs from the right side from entering the tower. Not only the tower, but it's going to keep the left side safe from the right side. So if imagine there's a goblin invasion coming from the right, this tower will protect the forest building, for example, from that invasion. However, it will not protect the forest biome from the creatures from the corruptions, which you guys will see spawning in a bit. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it for the tower. Next up, I'm just going to go ahead and add some details, some furnitures. Nothing that really stands out. However, there was one thing that I would like to mention as well. I did decide to add some banners, and these banners I go ahead and paint purple, because I figure again purple and corruption just match and work well. So that's pretty much it for this build guys. This is just part 1 out of the rest. The next part is where you guys will actually start seeing the entire build. It's actually where I'm gonna finish it, even if I go past 6 hours or whatever I do on this build. I am gonna go ahead and just keep it for 2 parts. And yeah guys, if you have any ideas, or if you guys are interested in checking out this contest, make sure to check out the official Terraria site. I will be leaving the link below on the description towards the forum. And if you guys are interested in looking at maybe some other contestants screenshots and work and whatnot, I haven't had much time to look at them, but I'm sure you guys will have a blast. It's inside the link that I'm going to send you. There's going to be somewhere along in the text a link for the submission thread where you can check this stuff out. So as always guys, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.